Hello everyone, Mr. E here, and welcome to another video. Yeah, I'm a week away from the fall semester of my senior year starting, and well, I'm starting to be a little stressed out. I have to retake 2 classes, and I have to move around my work schedule to work with that time. I got like 2 evening classes, so I'm not sure if I'll have time to be making these videos, but never mind about that now. I thought it might be cool to, I don't know, have a good laugh. And I chose the perfect movie to do that. From the director that brought us Airplane and Top Secret comes The Naked Gun from the files of Police Squad. Scientifically proven to be the funniest movie ever made. I freaking love these kind of movies. Every joke that happens throughout is completely random. Anything can happen. But yeah, this movie came out in 1988 and is a tie-in with the television series known as The Police Squad, which lasted 6 episodes. I got the whole thing on DVD right here. All 3 movies and all 6 episodes compressed into 2 DVDs, and I can watch whenever I want. So, let's cut the chit-chat. Let's have some fun! The movie starts off in Beirut, where we see a table filled with a bunch of stereotypical terrorist baddies talking and plotting to do an attack on America to weaken its resolve and reveal them as a bunch of cowards and poo-poo heads. But then that meeting is interrupted when one of the guys who was there, he was disguising himself as, the butler, pouring tea for everyone. Apparently he reveals to be, this film's protagonist, and he just beats the ever-living out of all these baddies. So that's funny. I'm already loving this movie.
I'm Lieutenant Frank Drebin, Police Squad. And don't ever let me catch you guys in America.
And even during the opening credits, some real funny stuff happens, where you see the police car driving through the streets, and the car basically just drives through a whole bunch of different stuff, including driving through someone's house, a roller coaster, a girl's locker room, and yeah, the jokes just keep on coming. We then cut to the docks of Los Angeles, where a police squad member named Nordberg is investigating a drug bust. Oh my gosh, it's him! Yeah, in case you didn't know, Nordberg is played by O.J. Simpson. Yeah, he was that one actor who got in trouble for supposedly killing his wife, and he got on trial for it, and then he was found innocent, even though pretty much everyone knows he's guilty. So, yeah. Fortunately, this movie came out before all of that. So let's I don't know. Let's just try not to think about that for the moment. Anyway, we got Nordberg. He's in the docks, and he finds a ship in the docks where like a drug operation's being held. So obviously, being the cop that he is, he tries to thwart it.
Your guns.
But as he's in there, the movie's main villain, played by the legendary Ricardo Montalban, shows up, and he gives the orders to the guys to just light him up. And so they did. They shoot him. Yeah, this kind of goes on for a while. The next day, Frank returns back to LA from Beirut in an airplane, and he's greeted by his sidekick, Ed Hocken. Now, of course, he did just beat up a bunch of terrorists, but he's a little heartbroken that his ex-wife, I think her name was Victoria, anyway, she just married a different guy, and, well, Frank is a little heartbroken about that.
Down here to get the hot story, didn't you? Pictures of me to send your lousy newspaper.
Frank.
Sure, you think I'm a big hero, the man of the hour? Well, do any of you understand how a man can hurt inside?
Frank, they're not here for you. Weird Al Yankovic is on the plane.
Let's not worry about that now. For right now, let's focus on what happened with Nordberg. Of course, Nordberg has just been hospitalized after getting shot a bunch of times, and Frank and Hocken are about to visit the hospital and see Nordberg and see what he could find out what he was doing. And of course, when they arrive at the hospital, Frank accidentally sits on the bed remote and it kind of folds a little bit, and it's funny. And he says a bunch of stuff that makes Nordberg's wife cry throughout. And the gist of it is that when they were talking with Nordberg, they find that a picture of a ship that was in the docks that Nordberg was investigating, which was called I Love You. That was used for a joke. And it turns out that it had shipments of heroin and a whole bunch of other stuff. And basically Frank and the police squad make it their mission to make sure that the guy who did this to their partner is brought to justice.
Wilma, I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat.
Yeah, come on, Wilma.
Now, there is a certain plot point I forgot to address. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth herself will be paying America a visit, and one of the places she's going to be going on through her tour is Los Angeles, and Police Squad is in charge of security for that part. And there's a whole press conference scene there where Frank is there. He's got the microphone, and he makes a speech, and the mayor is there, and once Frank is dismissed, he immediately rushes to the bathroom and urinates, and of course he's still got the mic on, so we can all still hear him go. That's hilarious. That was. I think I remember vaguely seeing something on TV where something very similar to that actually happens. So after that, Frank and Hodkin are at the docks trying to investigate the crime scene. Frank interrogates one of the harbor masters and bribes him into telling the truth. And it turns out Nordberg was investigating the ship, and the ship came from a certain guy named Vincent Ludwig, an entrepreneur in the city. And he's this big corporate guy, and he's like very rich, very powerful, one of those guys. Clearly that, this is something Frank has to look into, so he goes over there to pay this guy a visit. And sure enough, it was Ricardo Montalban's character, the one that's definitely not the villain. And anyway, they meet, and Vincent basically flexes on Frank with all of his crazy fancy shit, like big oil paintings and priceless vases and an unbreakable Japanese pen and some lionfish that he's got in a fish tank. And he eventually monologues or whatever, but that part's not important. But what is important is that we get some real funny slapstick going on there.
Criminal activity. Look up there. A vast commercial development built by me. Do you have any idea what was out there just 5 years ago?
Yeah!
You bet you do. All right.
Anyway, afterwards, Frank asks if he can access, the boat records with the ship that's in there. And that's where we get introduced to the leading lady. The girl's name is named Jane Spencer, and she's played by Priscilla Presley. That's right, folks, Priscilla Presley, ex-wife of the legendary Elvis. Yeah, she basically serves as the femme fatale character. She gives Frank the records, and Frank tries to return the favor by asking her out to dinner. Yeah, that's a little, maybe that's a little too fast, but nah, who am I? I'm not very good in the dating circle anyway. So what Frank doesn't know is that Jane is actually in cahoots with Vincent, and Vincent tells Jane to, I don't know, that it'll be in the best interest for everybody if she, hangs out with Frank and, gets to know him better. And, well, we all know where this is going to go. Anyway, after that, Frank returns back to police squad to check up on, his buddies at the lab where they analyzed Nordberg's jacket that they found at the docks. And the funny thing in this part is that you got Frank, he's in his car, he crashes it into a trash can and causes the airbag to go up. But then as he's leaving the car, the airbag fills up and the car just starts driving on its own. It's hilarious.
Hey, look out!
Anybody catch the license plate? Anybody get a look at the driver?
They're at the lab, the police squad lab, where Frank and Hodgkin are hanging out with, I don't know, I think his name was Ted? Yeah, anyway, he's the scientist of the group, and he kind of put together a couple of gadgets to help, including a Swiss Army shoe and a pair of cufflinks that shoot tranquilizer darts at their victims. Yeah, might want to remember the cufflinks for later. But when they look at through the samples in Nordberg's jacket, they find traces of pure heroin, which doesn't look good on Nordberg's end. So, yeah. So anyway, Nordberg is at risk of getting kicked out of police squad, and Frank is given 24 hours to try and clear his name and prove his innocence. Meanwhile, we cut back to Vincent's office, where we see a guy come in to talk with him about like a cargo shipment, which of course is referring to the heroin thing that was kind of spinning around. And to make matters worse, that the guy Vincent is talking to was in the Beirut prologue. He was one of the guys that was there during that whole thing. They start talking about a certain thing, but they don't really specify what exactly they mean. But they talk about assassins and all that, and why don't I just show you the clip, make things easier.
Care for some tea? Yes. Dominique, service for two, please.
I must kill Patch there. Will that be with cream and sugar, sir?
Yeah, it turns out these bad guys are doing a thing called sensory-induced hypnosis by using these devices to send signals to a certain individual who would happen to have a watch at that exact moment to, I don't know, suddenly become a zombie and get the urge to kill people. Which, I don't know, elaborates on the concept that anyone could be an assassin. And this part kind of bothers me a little bit, because how the hell would that even work? Kill George Michael. Kill George Michael. Kill George Michael. Hey man, good to hear. Quick question. Where does George Michael live? Wait, really? 7 years ago? Really? Huh. Oh. Well, never mind then. With 24 hours to prove Nordberg's innocence, Frank returns to the hospital to see if he can get some answers. However, Vincent and his goons are not far behind because they use that, I don't know, watch mind control thing to get to one of the nurses and get them to kill Nordberg before he could spill the beans. Luckily, Frank shows up just in time, and the nurse makes a quick getaway and steals the guy's car. Frank then chases after them by hopping onto a student driver car. And we get some real funny parts with we got like this big car chase happening, and of course we got the real funny parts where we have the teenage girl driving, and you got the instructor basically telling them what to do despite the scenario that they're in. And
Right, Stephanie, gently extend your arm. Extend your middle finger.
yeah, the chase scene ends when the nurse's car crashes into a gasoline tank with an explosion, and then still alive, he crashes into an army missile tank, and now on the army missile, it crashes into a fireworks store, and basically it's just chaos everywhere.
Hold on! Nothing to see here! Please, Pittsburgh! Nothing to see here, please!
The attempt on Nordberg's life has left many questions that have yet to be answered, like who was the guy that tried to kill Nordberg, and why wasn't his ship appearing on the records and all that, and all that. But that doesn't matter now, because once Frank arrives home, he realizes that there's somebody else there, and sure enough, there was. And guess who it was? Jane. Yeah, turns out she let herself in to have dinner with him. They said he said they'd have dinner sometime, and it is sometime after all, and that checks out. And so they have a real nice romantic dinner over a well-lit fireplace, wearing really dashing outfits, and they have talks for a while, and well, as you can expect from movies like this, they fall in love and they kiss, and all the real deal, and they're all it's official, these two are going out. So yeah, after making love that night, wearing giant condoms that cover their whole bodies, they then spend the whole day together doing a whole bunch of activities, watching movies and running through beaches in slow-mo and eating hot dogs and squirting condiments at each other, and yeah, just the whole deal. But wait a minute, what about that 24 hours thing with Nordberg? Surely it has to have been 24 hours by now. You think that assassination attempt would mean something, but he would have to tell somebody about it, would it? I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much thought into this. Anyway, that night, Frank and Harkin are having a stakeout with, Vincent's place, and, when Vincent is out, Frank infiltrates the office to find some evidence or whatever, something that's... Anyway, while he's in there, he finds a piece of paper that reveals some devastating developments.
20 million deposited in Manny Bank, Zurich, upon proof of Queen's death?
What a predicament he put himself into. Yeah, he ended up burning the only evidence that they have about the Queen's assassination, and well, one thing led to another, and the whole office starts catching fire, and he breaks the priceless vases and destroys the oil paintings. It's all over the place. And then he kind of hangs out from outside of the building, hanging on for dear life by holding on to the statue parts, and accidentally commits sexual assault. But I don't want to get too much into that, but long story short, he was kind of grabbing onto the thingy of a statue, and it fell off, and then he was still holding onto it while he was entering this one woman's apartment. And so, yeah, that enters the news, and of course, Frank is in very serious trouble because obviously the mayor is pissed at him because of that stunt he pulled. They were searching without a warrant and all that. There's a big reception coming up that the Queen is going to attend, and basically the mayor doesn't want Frank to attend it. Maybe for good reason. She doesn't want him to screw up. Hey, that night, Frank is chilling at his apartment looking for something to eat, but as it turns out, a lot of the stuff he has in his fridge has expired freaking ages ago. The milk is basically cottage cheese. There's like a thing that expired 6 years prior, and there's Chinese takeout from a place that went out of business 3 years ago. So yeah, anyway, Jane is there, and they talk for a little bit, and Jane is talking with Frank about somebody who works with Vincent. Frank is told to meet at one of Vince's meat packaging plants, where they kill the animals and turn them into burgers and hot dogs. Frank follows Jane's advice and goes to the meat packaging plant where he meets the guy he was told to meet.
I have a message for you from Vincent Ludwig. I'm sorry I can't hear you. Don't fire the gun while you're talking.
Oh man, they don't make them like they used to. Can you believe that this movie actually came out before Batman '89? Look it up if you don't believe me. Wait, that part turned out to be a trap, and of course, Frank is pissed off at the whole thing, so he crashes the reception where the Queen is going to be, and of course, it's a real banging party. There's like a whole bunch of guys in suits everywhere talking. There's cake, there's music. Of course, Frank shows up. Hawken and the mayor are there too, and they're patting down everybody, and then Frank runs into Vincent and Jane, who are together at this thing, and Frank confronts the both of them, and he gets into some more trouble than he is already. And of course, he basically dumps Jane for betraying him. Of course, Jane is like, no, it's not like that at all. They told me about, and then Frank is like, yeah, whatever. We could have been something. And I was like, didn't they just meet 2 days ago or whatever?
It's the truth.
It's true what they say, cops and women don't mix. like eating a spoonful of Drano. Sure, it'll clean you out. It'll leave you hollow inside. Too bad, Chicken Puff. We could have been some.
At one point, the Queen arrives, and of course Vincent is holding a gift for the Queen, which was a Revolutionary War musket, and of course at that moment there's like big bugles blaring and the Queen shows up, and then I'm just going to show you the clip, save you guys the talk. Well, it's a good thing that wasn't actually the Queen. Anyway, because of that whole thing, it gets all over the news. The bringing, disgrace to the whole city of Los Angeles, and obviously Frank gets kicked out of police squad. But why didn't they lock him up? Clearly, doing that would have been enough to lock someone up for good. Yeah, while Frank is packing up to leave the squad, Jane shows up and apologizes for the whole thing.
I have important information for you. Please believe. Vincent Ludwig and I, there was never anything between us. He likes Easterling men.
What about you?
I like cops.
She then explains to Frank and Haken that the Queen will be attending a baseball game between the Los Angeles Angels and the Seattle Mariners. And, of course, Vincent is going to be attending it next to the Queen alongside Jane. And one of the players out in the field is going to be an assassin that's going to shoot the Queen. And, Frank has to go into the game and stop the assassin before they could get the chance to kill the Queen. And the big baseball game is underway, and Frank manages to get in to attend the game alongside police squad. And since he's basically got fired from police squad, he's got to be under the radar because he's got to break a few rules in order to get this job done, because he has to find a way to get inside of the game and search through all the players that are participating and trying to find a weapon or something to thwart the evil plans to kill the Queen. The first thing he does is sneak in throughout the stadium and knocks out an opera singer named Enrico Palazzo, posing as him and performing the national anthem, pretty much botching the whole thing. He's still a better singer than I am. He then disguises himself as an umpire and proceeds to partake in the game, doing call-outs for strikes and outs and all that. That's what an umpire does.
Strike?
Yeah, I'm glad that worked out. We then see a fun montage of Frank posing as the umpire, having the absolute time of his life, calling out stuff and patting down all the baseball players he comes across. One thing I forgot to mention is that one of the players is gonna kill the Queen during the 7th inning stretch. So once it gets to the top of the 7th or whatever, all he's got to do now is stall for time for, you know, police squad to get stuff in order, and basically he has to bull the game to try and slow down the whole process.
Hey! Say! What do you mean? I got 3 balls. Say! No! What do you say? Say! Get down! Help! Hey, one safe. Ain't ever tag him with the ball. You idiot! He was out when they were out of the baseline. All right, I've had enough. You're out of here. What do you mean?
I love this movie. Why did we stop making these movies? Honestly, these are the best. During all the chaos, Vincent finally puts his plan into motion by taking control of the right fielder, Reggie Jackson.
I must kill the queen.
With the right fielder now under the control of, you know, Vincent, he takes a gun from under one of the bases, and he slowly marches towards the queen to shoot her. But luckily, Jane calls out to Frank to tell him that it's the right fielder, and basically Frank comes up and tackles the guy, and because of that, all of the baseball players that are there come up together, and they just start beating the out of each other too, causing a huge pileup. It's chaos. But yeah, with Vincent's plan thwarted, he now has a machine gun, and he points it at Jane, basically holding her hostage, and as they try to make a getaway. But during the big pileup, the assassin emerges and comes up to try and shoot the queen. But fortunately, Frank uses one of his stun cufflinks to shoot a dart at him, which it misses, but it does hit a person that's up there that falls out of the sky and basically hits the guy before he can shoot her, and basically saving the queen, and that's pretty good. He gets applauded, and just the whole deal.
Hey! It's Enrico Palazzo!
Hey, I saw that guy in Teen Wolf. Frank then sees Vincent trying to run away with Jane at gunpoint, and basically a standoff happens, which ends in Frank shooting another one of the darts at Vincent, defeating him once and for all.
You killed him.
No. He's just stunned. He'll be all right in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, there's no way he survived that. Anyway, so yeah, he just landed face down on the asphalt. A truck comes up and drives over him. Then a steamroller comes up and flattens him, and then he gets walked over by a marching band. So yeah, bad guy's dead, queen saved, city saved, everything's cool. But there's one more thing we have to address. During the marching band thing, one of the guys steps on Vincent's, thing that, triggers the mind control stuff, and it works with, and basically Jane gets triggered, and now she's pointing a gun at Frank, and basically Frank tries to give her a big speech, talk her out of it, and basically there's cameras everywhere, and he's on the Jumbotron, and basically everyone sees it. All the stadium goers and all the baseball players that were beating each other's asses. Anyway, Frank then tries to get her to snap out of it by showing her an engagement ring that he bought, even though they haven't even been together for like a week. But yeah, the good news is Jane snaps out of it and they hug it out and everything lives all happily ever after. Everyone in the stadium saw the whole thing and they're crying their eyes out. Everyone's hugging each other, even the commentators and all the baseball players. Everything's cool. And the mayor commemorates Frank for saving the Queen, and he's reinstated back into police squad. Same with Nordberg, who is also there in a wheelchair, and will be back on his feet and back on the force in about a week. So everything's cool.
Whoa! Oh, Frank. Everyone should have a friend like you.
And if you thought the jokes ended there, you'd be wrong. Because if you look closely throughout the end credits, you'll find some real funny and unnecessary stuff. Here's what I found. So yeah, the whole funny mess all around, all 3 movies. I can't wait to get to the other 2 eventually. But for right now, this movie is peak comedy. If you're ever looking for a good laugh, I highly recommend you watch these movies. And this movie kind of paved the way for other parody movies after that. These movies basically inspired other kind of movies. Of course, we got Airplane and Top Secret, which came out before then, but we also have the scary movies and all the other parody movies, like superhero movie, epic movie, Meet the Spartans, those movies. And we should really consider bringing those movies back. The world could really use them right about now, if I'm being totally honest. So that's it, everyone. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and all that, and I'll see you guys next time.